We are back, episode 3, rolling with the punches. I'm joined by a good friend of mine, met virtually, actually never met in person. um, yeah, CJ Vogel, owner of Sports Update. You guys have definitely seen the page if you're big into sports. Basically, the best news, and I'm not just saying that, but the best news and highlight sports page there is on Instagram by far. So welcome on to Rolling with the Punches.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the kind words right there. A lot of great pages on Instagram, but I mean, it's been fun running Sports Update, and obviously, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so a little bit different. I kind of want to touch on how we met a little bit. So we met originally because we first started when I mentioned on my first episode I had Peter on actually, but we were just reaching out to people trying to get interviews done, and we met Peter and I met you through Instagram, but yeah, I think the last time we spoke we were just talking about sports and everything. So we got a little bit of a switch up here. It's going to be more about like you behind the scenes, how you run the Instagram. I mentioned a lot to you off camera, but I feel like I haven't spoken to you in so long, man. It's been so long since then.
Yeah, it's been quite a minute. Lots changed. We went through an entire pandemic and stuff. So
Literally, I know, but yeah, let's jump right into it. So I feel like your sports takes and like you do the Instagram lives a lot. As of recent, I wouldn't say recently, but like the last time we spoke, you were kind of like just starting to take off with the Instagram lives and stuff like that. But so you guys basically, it's sports update. It's pretty self-explanatory. You guys post, are you the only one who runs it? By the way, I'll start off there.
yeah, I am. I'm the sole person for the last 10 years. That's had access to the account, and so any big news that's popped up in the sports world, it's been me that's been throwing it up there for whoever follows us.
Yeah, so you guys basically just, I mean, I wish I could really like explain and give a deeper explanation, but you really just post sports updates. That's all it really is. But there's so much more to that, which is why I thought you'd be such an awesome guest to have on the show. So I want to break that down. But like, how did you start with that idea of making an Instagram page that you're gonna be posting sports updates, highlights, all of the above? How'd you start with that?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, sports have been a big part of my life. Ever since I can remember. I remember being in elementary school, and me and a couple buddies we play a game called Sports Reporter, where we would sit in the recess line or in a lunch line or something like that, and the three or four of us we'd just be pretend to be like a Stuart Scott or a Scott Van Pelt, and we'd go around the little lunch table and basically just talk the biggest news from the night before in sports. And so I guess that's kind of where it started. Wanting to talk about sports, wanting to be in the sports world. Um, I don't know why I started the page. I guess I just wanted to talk more about sports to people who were probably tired of talking to me about sports, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to venture off and see what I could create. And so I guess it was seventh grade. I started a page, and I came up with the most boring name possible. Just titled the account Sports Update, threw it up there, and man, it's blown up ever since. But I mean, I obviously I post scores, highlights, anything that I find interesting. I try to start a conversation, because there's nothing more fun in my opinion than meeting someone and just talking sports for as long as possible.
Yeah, so you said a lot of things there that I kind of want to break down because I find this whole thing like it was actually one of the main reasons I started the new show because like I took a class from I just graduated you as well, or you're finishing in December, right? You said?
I graduated in
Oh, you
December. Yeah,
graduated in December. Okay, so
yeah,
congratulations to both of us. But one of the
yeah.
classes that I one of the classes that I took, they kind of broke down like the senior seminar paper was really about like social media. So I chose to do like the future of social media and like how it's going to be so like much different than what it is now and how different it already is than it was before. But the thing about like sports update that intrigues me so much, which you just mentioned, is like so yesterday we're recording this. The episode should air on Monday, but we're recording this on Wednesday. The Bucks won the finals last night.
Right.
Congratulations to the Bucks. You
Yeah.
got to be on top of everything, especially when it's like a big game like Game 6, and like say the Suns win, then like yeah, it's a post, but like you're gonna be posting more of the there's a whole algorithm behind it. You know what I mean? Like, how does that really work for you? Are you always on your phone? Are you like what do you know? How is that?
Oh man, am I always on my phone? I would say so. I mean,
Do
I'm
people around
sure.
you say that as well too? Like,
Oh, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous because you see someone on your phone, you're like, oh, they're invested in the phone. They're not paying attention to what's going on around them. I've had my phone glued to my hand for so long that I feel like it's just, an extension of my hand. Like my screen time at most weeks is 9.5, 10 hours. Like it's a problem really. But I mean, yeah, like you said, if, the sports world changes depending on games outcomes, series extend, series end, obviously. And so you have to be prepared for both ways. I had posts ready last night before the game of, if the Bucks did win the game, what would I post? I wanted to find a picture of Giannis, obviously finished with 50 points. I wanted him to be the focal point and then add a couple highlights of, him, I think he had a couple dunks over Frank Kaminsky or something like that. If I could find a video, throw it up right behind the picture, that would help, in my opinion, spread significantly greater than just a photo saying, hey, the Bucks won, something that people can look at and say, oh, wow, like this highlight right here really like captures how dominant Giannis was in his 50-point closeout victory. So it's something that I've started to become accustomed to when watching a game. Is a crazy play happens in the middle of the game. It's like, I've got to get that clip ready to go by the end of the game. So, by the time the final buzzer sounds, I can toss that up right away. People will be talking about it, liking it, really just reliving it, because I feel like, if you can come away from a game talking about one specific play or moment or anything controversial, really, your emotions about the game and the way you feel about that game are definitely heightened up. And it just basically creates for a greater conversation. And obviously, the Instagram algorithm, the more conversation, the more engagement, the more people see it, and therefore the page gets bigger and grows, that way.
Yeah, so a big thing of what you mentioned was like the strategy, kind of like you have two things. You probably had a picture of like Devin Booker, CP3 ready to go, like Suns extend series to game 7, or since the Bucks won, you pulled up the one of the Bucks winning. But do you watch the games too? Because say there's like how would you know? I mean, you got to be I have the internet. I mean, I have social media. I mean, so like I could tell if there's a highlight without watching the game. Like it's not hard to kind of like, you don't have to watch the game to see highlights, is what I'm saying. But do you kind of pay more attention to make sure you don't miss that huge Giannis dunk and like you could pull that clip as soon as possible? Or like, what's your kind of strategy going with the whole night? Like, especially like, I think last night's a perfect example. Like we just got crowned an NBA champion. So how'd you go about last night?
Yeah. So I'll start, I love watching the NBA. I love watching the NFL, and I love the MLB. So obviously the three big sports that, I'd love to cover, I'm watching them every single night for the most part. Obviously there are times life gets in the way and you can't just sit down and watch, games for 7 hours a day, that just can't happen, unfortunately. With that said, on a given night, in the middle of the NBA season, I'll probably watch 3 to 4 games at a night, I'll always have my laptop in front of me. That'll be, I'll be streaming some game on there. And then this past year, I was fortunate enough to have 2 TVs in the living room. So we had a game on. If there's a national television game, it was on one, and we could find a stream for another game, one of my roommates was a fan of, we'd toss it up there. So, I mean, anytime I can get multiple games on at a time, my eyes are just going all over the place, hoping to see something, crazy or historic maybe, or, something that is out of the ordinary. And I think as a result of that, I'm not going to consider myself an NBA expert or, an analytical guy or anything like that. But I mean, it helps you, draw opinions about players, that, the casual fan would not know, because, you're watching so many games, you see so many moments and stuff as it happens. And so I definitely think that helps basically draw conclusions about teams, players, games itself. So yeah, that's part of it, and then going back to, I guess wrapping up the finals, you got to watch it. Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be talking about it, it's the biggest stage. It's the the potential last game of the season. You've got to watch it. You got to find those moments that we were talking about, like the dunk, the strips on Devin Booker that happen, seemingly the last every game for the last 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
You got to find those moments that you can pinpoint to and look at and just feel like, yeah, like that might have been the turning point, or that play is going to look really good on Instagram page and hit, the engagement, really high, soar of the page, do whatever. So always like a subconscious now, but you've got to be aware of it and look for it in real time, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it's so incredible. Like how that's the thing about this Instagram, like building a business, which I'm gonna dive more into further in the podcast. But like, there's so much strategy that goes into it, and people think it's just a simple like you're putting in a lot of work behind the scenes. And I think especially for you, like you look at other social media careers, like you see like I'm just gonna throw like a Logan Paul or a Jake Paul, like you see like the shenanigans and all the stuff they're doing, but you know they're putting in work behind the scenes. The guy's obviously got a box to become a good boxer, like he's got to train, but with you, it's like, yeah, you, especially as of recently, you've been using a lot more of your face and stuff like that. But more so, like a lot of it is behind the scenes work that no one knows because they're just simply going on your page to get updated. They don't understand that you had to have all this premeditated. So I think it's incredible. I'm like fascinated by it.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a growing experience. Obviously, with the first 7 or 8 years, I tried to keep everything as unbiased, as neutral, just scores, facts, stats about the game. Obviously the last couple of years I've started to incorporate myself a little bit more, and as a result of that, I've started to throw my opinion in some stuff. Like here's a top 10 quarterbacks list.
Yeah.
Here's my SEC conference predictions for the season, who I think would go to the the college football playoff. And so I wouldn't say it's changed anything from the normal posting that I had, way back in the beginning of Sports Update or anything. I think it adds a new element, and as a result, it kind of takes some time to get used to. For followers who, for the last 5 years, all they've known is, hey, here's the score, here's the stats, here's what happened. Now it's another guy, throwing his opinion down your throat, kinda, and so it's been a learning curve for sure. But I've taken it and made some adjustments, and I think good things are ahead.
Yeah, so let's talk about that real quick. The algorithm almost like, and I think you're making great points. Like, so people are so used to seeing like a picture of Giannis. It's so interesting, this whole thing, because say I follow your page, for instance, I'm expecting to see pictures of the games, stuff to update me, highlights, like you said. And it's crazy because you'll get more interaction on stuff like that. Like, it's obvious, like you said, it's a learning curve. People are going to go one day and see your face and be like, who is this? I don't follow this random person on my feed because they don't know who's behind Sports Update. And then they see the page, they'll be like, oh, that's Sports Update. How do you manage that kind of like, how do you manage the algorithm really? Like, do you realize that there is like a whole system, and if they don't see pictures of sports like that, they might get angry and unfollow or like leave hateful comments? Like, how do you manage that? Because it's not like you went into it showing your face. You're kind of making a left turn. It's not a complete left turn, but it's kind of like, I want to do more me. And I think that's dope. Like, but you know how people are. So how do you manage the algorithm?
Yeah. So like you said, I didn't have my face, the first time I really, changed the page to be my name, run by me, kind of, here I am. Like, I basically revealed myself to the world of Sports Update, and it took a minute, but I think, kind of mastering that the algorithm, I guess, is, obviously insights on the page help. They tell you which posts do better, which, how many comments you have, how many likes. Obviously you can see it already, but you can tell, when certain posts are sent more to friends, to buddies, to people that follow you. And I think that's interesting. I think there's one sport that really drives that out more than the others, and that's basketball. Obviously, following the NBA, if you follow Worldwide Bob on Twitter, the NBA has not been dramatic more than 0 days in a row for the last 50 years, basically. There's always stuff happening in the NBA. Yeah. And so I think that's what draws people to the NBA more than other sports is, it's almost like a reality show. I guess it is because it's, real life sports or whatever, but everything that surrounds it, is unique compared to the other sports. And so I think finding something that, can really, I guess, draw the attention and then capitalizing off of that is something that I was able to do, I guess, really early when, the off-season free agent signings, that first week of July every year, that would be my biggest growing point of the entire year. I would grow more in that, 2-week span than I would for probably 5 months after that. And it was weird, I guess, NBA fans love the breaking news. They love to know when it's happening, and they love rumors. And so that was another thing is, I taught myself Photoshop, early in high school, and that's been something that I've tried to evolve over the last couple of years of Sports Update is how can I get better at Photoshop? Because, graphics, you see them everywhere now on Instagram, the Bleacher Report, ESPN even, all these companies are adopting, jersey swaps, the hypothetical, like what if Michael Jordan played against Giannis, like in the post, what would happen? It's the two of them, backing each other up on the block,
Mm-hmm.
like people love to hypothetically compare those eras. And by doing that, that's when I guess the Photoshop really comes in. You can kind of, put the two together and then throw it out there. And that's, you kind of exploit the algorithm there is something that I love to do. And so I learned really early that if you can, find, a time or, really just a recurring theme in the sports calendar to kind of put your mark on. And for me, it was the NBA free agency, NBA trade rumors. Then you can really exploit that algorithm. And I did that through jersey swaps, trade rumors, anything I could to kind of be like, hey, like, what if Klay Thompson got traded to, the Lakers? And it's Klay Thompson with the Lakers jersey up there. Obviously, that's going to piss off a lot of people because they don't want, Klay Thompson to go to Lakers. So they're going to comment. Yeah. They might not like it, but that comment alone is going to drive more engagement than a like would. And so it was kind of turning the knobs a little bit to find, what irks people in the way that they're going to engage with your page more to make it, more accessible, I guess.
Yeah, that it's genius. It's actually genius. It's so much that goes into it. And to double down on kind of that algorithm, like what would your suggestion be like from, I'll even take, honestly, it's funny because one of the reasons I started this show, I wanted to bring on people that, because I'm in a position where like I just graduated similar to you, trying to figure my stuff out. Like I obviously want to do something with media and like I want to learn from people. So from starting the new podcast page, which I'll show you after and all, because I'll be posting on, but like, what would your advice be to people like me or people in general who are trying to grow a brand on Instagram, like using that algorithm?
Yeah, so that was something I guess kind of learned by trial and error was, how do you grow the page? And, for the first 5,000 people, I guess when I really first started, I got lucky because you could just follow, 10,000 people and then unfollow them right away. Can't do that now. And I guess there's a lot of pages that kind of got that start, and that's, kind of where it began for me. As Instagram over the years kind of took that away, that little cheat code or whatever, you kind of had to find new ways to, get your name out to people that weren't following you. And before the Explore page really came in to be the Explore page that it is today, the only way you could do that was by collaborating with other pages, around the similar size of you or that cover, perhaps a different sport for the most part than you. So you can kind of, mix the two audiences together and integrate new followers into your page. And so that's what I did a lot really early was, you may know it as, a shout out for shout out, but back in the day that helped my page grow a lot. And so it was unique in the sense that I hated just, here's my logo, throw it out there and tell your followers to follow me. Like I wanted something like if something big happens in the sport that you cover, you give me your post, you give me your caption. I will say, hey, like, Messi just signed a brand new $800 million deal. Like, this is breaking news, crazy stuff. Oh, by the way, if you want more soccer news, if you want to stay up to late in the latest stuff that happens on the pitch, follow my guy. And then just spam his at, where to find him, everything like that. And he would do the same for me, except it'd be, oh, LeBron just left the heat for the Cavs. Like that's exactly what I would want him to post to his audience and me to post for mine. And we would benefit the same because, sports fans are sports fans. They're going to follow what's happening in the world, whether it's their sport or not.
So you're saying basically, and it's so funny that because you actually touched on a topic that I was going to ask you next about like old Instagram and current Instagram, but
yeah.
So you're saying I remember back then you could follow 1,000, thousands like of people, and then just wait till they follow because you'll eventually get people to follow you back, and then you could just unfollow all them. Now it's like limited and restricted. But you're saying after that, now you're more so like collaborating with people and trying to get your name out there from other people's fan bases. That's what you would really like suggest to people.
Yeah, so obviously hashtags are a big part of it, but
And
hashtags only take
hashtags.
you so far. You search a hashtag of Giannis in the last,
There's a lot of pictures.
the last week, there's probably been 100,000 photos added of Giannis with that hashtag. So you're going to get buried. Obviously, if you can, kind of find the niche hashtags of, it's MLB All-Star Week 2021. If you can post that, and that's going to be promoted by the MLB or whatever teams are posting players or their guys. If you can find that hashtag that they're using, you can attach your all-star coverage from your page or from your tweets or anything like that using their hashtag. It's going to be seen a whole lot more.
Yeah.
And so finding I guess the right hashtags, the right keywords, I guess to throw into your post, that's going to help too. But yes, collaborating and finding people with similar sized audiences. I mean, that to me is one of the easiest ways to grow a page. And so obviously, I mean, if one account has 50,000 followers, the other one has 55,000 followers. I mean, off the bat, there's no chance that those 50,000 followers are the exact same. There's no chance. And so new eyes are going to be, attracted and drawn to each page. It's going to be mutually beneficial to both pages, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome stuff. I think you're 100% right too. I that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Along with work, the content is based off of other people really, but it's more so like collaborating and trying to get my name out there. It's tough, especially when you start a podcast. Like yours is also, I'd say, more marketing based, like where it's kind of like people have something to come to you for, and it's a good, you're in a good like niche, like people know what they're getting with you. Me, I'm kind of starting up, but I think it's great points, collaborations, hashtags. It's awesome stuff. I was gonna ask you. You mentioned the old Instagram, so like, I feel like it's completely different now. And it's gonna lead into my next question too. But for now, it's kind of more marketable Instagram. Like they've realized that you could use it as a marketing tool. So they show you, like you said, the insights, and they limited your following and followers. They've done all of it. How has it been navigating from the old Instagram where you couldn't even direct message people you were on at that time to now? How has that been how has that navigation been?
Yeah, it's always funny seeing, anytime, a tweet pops up of here was Instagram in like 2013 and you look at it and you're like, wow, this is so familiar, but, so archaic in a way. So it's kind of funny to look back and be like, wow, we really used to post all of our photos to that. And that was, what we did. But,
yeah,
I think like anything that, the evolution to get better is what's going to keep Instagram alive. The addition of, the Instagram shop, live streams, even the badges of Instagram is really helping, I guess, people like me and anybody who's trying to draw an audience or really, just keep an audience up to date with what they do. It's kind of crazy and it's been a fun learning curve, but for me, I mean, really is the addition of videos. There are three things that really, I think, really helped the Instagram pages. And that was, the addition of videos, the addition of the marketplace, and then Instagram Live. I don't personally sell anything or use the marketplace, but I mean, I guess taking out that middleman for people who do have merchandise, who do sell, any type of merchant or I guess resell items, taking out that middleman, just taking the buyer directly to that link, that's got to help, companies like crazy.
Yeah.
I've never, like I said, explored that, but I've just got to imagine that if you got to, close the entire app, take your name off the page, and then hope that link takes you to wherever it is intended to take you, it might not. The Wi-Fi might fail. The person might get agitated. You might not ever reach it.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to the Instagram shop, see your name, exactly what you're selling, what you're branding, what you're, listing. Boom, one click, you got it. That's crazy to me. And so it's been cool to see the new Instagram really, and I've always said that, they kind of just take and steal from all, any type of social media. I mean, the addition of stories, where did that come from? Snapchat, Instagram Live and badges, where did that come from? Twitch, and so it's Instagram's way of saying, hey, like we want our our big brand influencers to stay on the app. We don't want to lose, let's we don't want to lose House of Highlights to Twitch because they could sit there and just have their own show.
Yeah.
Why not give them the option to stay on the platform and do their show from Instagram? We can give them the option to be paid, and that's what badges do. And so it's the little kinks that they're figuring out there to kind of, how can we retain our big influencers or big pages or whatever while still giving our audience something new and, I guess revolutionary in today's Instagram world. So it's been cool to see. Obviously, it's still a work in progress and something that I'm still learning. But if you can kind of tweak it to find something that your audience enjoys, that's something that I definitely feel like is very beneficial for pages and influencers and anybody along those lines as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you, and it's probably awesome for you to see too how like Instagram's evolved over this last decade almost. So I think it is crazy to think about, like, and it's gonna lead right into my next question. When did you realize that you could like monetize off of Instagram, that people could make a living and like doing what you're doing in specific, like that this might be something that you could end up doing for a very long time? When did you realize that?
Yeah, so it took me a while. Obviously, I was in high school when we hit 50K or we hit 60K or when we hit a big enough number for me to finally be like, oh wow, like for some reason this many people are following me. Like this is crazy. That's when I was like, hey, like how about some money for like an In-N-Out burger? Like where can I get that? Like I'm going to college soon. Some extra money would be great. If I wanted to buy, extra case of beer, like how am I going to get that? And so it was kind of like, there's got to be ways to really attract some type of monetary value to the page. And so I started seeing it for the first time on professional sports accounts. You see all the time, the NBA teams now have the little patch of whoever their corporate sponsor is. Yeah. Well, back in the day, you'd see Tide sponsor the NFL draft. And so, NFL teams would post their after the first night of NFL draft, they're posting, hey, like, here's Trevor Lawrence decked out in his brand new suit. He's got the Jaguars hats on. Oh, and he's holding a bottle of Tide bleach or whatever. Like, that's something that I was like, hey, like, you can make money from brands kind of promoting on your page, yeah. Not necessarily content wise, but hey, like they will pay you to post about them to your audience. And so I was like, hey, like I'm going to reach out to anybody and everybody that I can. I was like, oh, let's reach out to Rawlings, Wilson, Spalding, some of those big companies, obviously, there's more hoops and tricks and hurdles to jump through or whatever that, they don't necessarily want to, sponsorship or partner up with right away. But I mean, there are those type of companies that will. And, in the past, I've kind of had a partnership with Manscaped back in the day. SeatGeek was a big one that I know a lot of Instagrammers and I guess influencers on all platforms kind of went with. Ticketmaster. There's a lot of guys that, hey, your audience is into what we cater to. And so it was like, let's team up and let's find a way for you to benefit by promoting our program or product. And so that was something that I was able to, in a couple years time, kind of be like, hey, like I know exactly who I can reach out to and see if they're interested and benefit that way. And so it's been fun to see, who's next kind of is,
yeah.
Who could I potentially like lure to, market on our page and stuff like that.
Are you currently working on anything now that you could tell us?
No, not right now. Right now we're still trying to, come up with a set schedule of streaming of content, stuff like that. And so once we kind of take that next step into, finding a nice schedule and finding the right audience, that's when we'll be exploring some new details there.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good with that. I wanna kind of bring it back a little bit to your youth a little bit, and this is like the part of the show where I kind of talk a lot about like motivation and stuff like that. So growing up, you mentioned a little bit to me when we just spoke now, like you were mentioning like you'd play like games with friends and be like Stuart Scott or Scott Stewart, excuse me, and I don't even know his name. I know who you're talking about though, and I'm so sorry, and like the Skip Baylesses of the world, the Stephen A. Smiths of the world, like those guys, are those some of those people like role models to you growing up, or like did your dad get you into sports? Like how did you like put it all together for me, you know?
Oh yeah, my dad was a big baseball player back in the day, and so I was born in the month of June. When I was born, there's a Rangers game on in the room where I was born. The nursing, whatever. There was always games on. My mom, had season tickets to the Cowboys back in the 90s when they were winning Super Bowls, and so the two of them really instilled like a sports household right away. And so whether if I like sports or not, sports were going to be on. And I can't really tell you when I started to really like sports, but it was very early. And so I just ran with it. And come to find out, I was a very competitive kid growing up, for better or for worse, I guess. But, when you play sports and you're competitive, it leads to, in my opinion, a healthy relationship of being, athletic or being involved in sports. And so, I played everything. I played soccer for a year or two. I played basketball for a couple of years. I played football from middle school to high school, and I loved baseball. Baseball is probably the sport that I loved more than all of them else. But yeah, just being around every sport and getting to know little things about each sport made you want to learn more about the other sports. Made you want to play with other friends and be like, hey, like you might be better than me at basketball, but if we step on the football field, there's no shot that you're going to be able to cover me or something like that. And so I think that was a big part of the beginning. And obviously, like I said, once I got to middle school, I was like, hey, like my friends are probably sick and tired of me, talking about sports all the time. Let me find a new audience that I can talk sports with at any given time of the day. And that's why I started the page. And so, yeah, it all started back, with my family. They big sports fans, and I imagine, if one day if I have kids myself, they'll be in the same household as me, and they'll probably hate sports, to be honest, because I won't shut up about them. But yeah, it definitely started real early, and that's kind of the trajectory has always been like that when it comes to talking about sports. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Did you ever like see yourself doing something with like I call it broadcast media or like sports media or anything like that? And it's kind of a two-parter, but like, do you see yourself? This is your passion. Like you want to go into this. Is this something that you're 100% going to do for the rest of your life?
yeah, so at first I didn't want to. Um, you know, like I said, I started the page in middle school. I had it all through high school. When I applied to college, I applied to business schools. Um, I applied to Arkansas, Ole Miss, and the University of Texas. I was like, hey, like, I want to go into business. Like, I want to be a business marketer, business management, whatever. Like, I want to be the boss, essentially. Um, that didn't work out. I didn't get into the University of Texas Business School right away, but I got accepted, through one of their programs. And so I spent a year at UT Tyler. I transferred into UT Austin the next year. I didn't get into business school again. So I was like, maybe I should take this a little bit more serious. Like I have a good thing going right now. I have, 75,000 followers listening to me just talk about sports. Why not, try to capitalize off that? Why not look at that following as I might have a future just talking to them, like why try to, kind of veer off from what I'm good at, and that's talking sports. And so I changed my major once I got to Texas to sports journalism. I guess it's just journalism with a sports marketing minor or whatever it was. I don't know. But like, why would I not stick with what's almost gotten me here? I mean, there's no way I was going to get into this school without mentioning, all the cool things I've accomplished with the Instagram page on my resume, with my application, with any of that. They would have just, like, anybody can have the grades, the scores that I did. Like, what set me apart was what, is going to take me to the next level, in my opinion. And that's the sports page. Like, why would I disappear from that? And so that was, I guess, my sophomore year of college is really when I was like, hey, like, buy into this. Let's make this like the path. And so The next year I was working for the school newspaper. I covered the baseball team. Unfortunately, the year before they went to the College World Series. The year that I covered them, they finished dead last in the Big 12. And so it wasn't fun, because of that. But I mean, it was a learning point. Now I'm covering, Texas and Oklahoma recruiting and team football and stuff like that with this on the side. And I was like, hey, like, I'm making a living now because of this page. Like I don't get the job at the newspaper without the sports page. I don't get the job, covering now, recruiting now without the job at the newspaper. And so it's kind of like, hey, like, let's just keep building this. I'm going to have this page forever, and I can always go back to that whenever I want to, try and build myself a name through a different avenue as well. And so it was really my sophomore year of college where I was like, hey, like, let's put the boots on and let's get to work and make a name in the sports media industry.
That's awesome. Is this it for you? Like there's no other path. This is it for you 100%. Like you're going down the sports. You're going to continue from now on. Like, are you going to continue with Sports Update as well? Like, or that's it, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to say yes. I mean, you never know in the media industry and the sports world specifically, because there's a lot of turnover and whatever. But I mean, I feel like if you can find a little niche area and make it your own, and I feel like, not many people have that background in Instagram, social media, kind of stuff like that. And so I feel like I want to say yes. You never know. It's funny. I was contemplating all of that the other day. So I was like, do I really want to buy into this? Of course, I want to talk sports forever.
Yeah.
Is that going to be what's best for me, best for my future family down the road? You never know. But that's a problem that you may come down to, a couple years from now or whatever. But for now, all steam ahead. I want to stay in the sports world. Be a personality, if you will. I don't consider myself one now, but I mean, if for any reason I ever get a blue check mark on Twitter, I'm gonna be the most obnoxious person ever, and then I'll never you'll never get rid of me from the sports world. So yeah, I mean, I definitely do see myself staying in it for now. Yeah.
Yeah. I think and honestly, my advice to you, since I've known you, like from when we met about like a year ago, honestly,
Yeah.
I think you should go full force in it. Like I'm into this like big motivational thing where I'm trying to find myself too and everything. And I love media, so I'm trying to figure it out. I haven't even spoken about it, but I literally figured the idea out today that I think I'm going to start doing like documentaries on like famous people. And like, I just want to do something in media, like whether it's on mic, behind the camera. So like for you personally, I think full steam ahead, you should keep going with it. Like you're really good at what you do. And I'm not just telling you this because I'm having you on as a guest. Like I wouldn't have invited you on if I didn't believe this, And like, my thing is for you, like, just go for it. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, people that don't have that backup plan and like they want what they want, they'll end up succeeding in it. And like, you have been doing it long enough to just like trust me. Of all people, like I look at some, and everyone has that thought. Like, can I do this for so long? Like, it's a real thought. Like, it's normal to have that. And I think it's so dope to hear you say that too, as someone who's been running I'd say a business for like 10 years. You said so. Like, keep going, bro. There's no reason to quit now unless like obviously life happens, but the future is very bright for you and keep doing it for real. I really do mean that.
That's big time. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome what you've done. Yeah. So I got like 2-3 more questions and we'll probably wrap up. I would say so Sports Update, what's the future of that? Like, do you want to continue with obviously the posts that you're doing now? Do you want to do more of the live streams? I know you had a YouTube for a little while. What's the future of Sports Update?
Yeah, so I've kind of dabbled in a couple different avenues. I had a podcast a while back. I was able to have some pretty cool guests on it. Mo Bamba, Jalen Strong, Daniel Gafford, now with the Wizards. Like, I had some pretty cool guys, and we had some great conversations there. Unfortunately, some of the co-hosts that I had on me, like we said, life kind of gets in the way. They go to school, different, business, opportunities come up for them. So, that didn't really happen all the time. And then, I get to a new apartment over here, and as you can see the green screen behind me, I was like, hey, like, let's start a YouTube page. Well, it's hard to start a YouTube channel about sports in the middle of a pandemic when no sports are being played.
Yeah.
And so what am I going to talk to then? And then I kind of realized I was like, oh, I hate editing and I don't have anybody to edit for me. And so I was like, you know, if this is, you know, the start, it's going to be what I'm going to have to, you know, put everything I have into that while balancing school. And so at the time it was difficult to kind of balance school, the other job, and, you know, other stuff as well. But the future of Sports Update is something I've thought about quite a bit recently. I'm going to go from living in a house with 6 people to 2 people, hopefully. That's going to give me a lot more time to focus on what I'm doing and what, you know, I will be doing down the future. And I hope, you know, I hope to bring back a podcast. I hope to, you know, have, you know, a nightly podcast or a live stream routine, because there, you know, I've over the last couple months, you know, live streaming games, I've gotten to know, you know, quite a good amount of the people that tune in regularly. And it's cool to kind of be like, to be asked, you know, hey, when are you going to come on again? When are we going to have a live stream? You know, I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy coming on the show to talk to you about, you know, sports and stuff. And so I want to get back to that. I want to, you know, kind of get back in that community and see, you know, maybe I can open up another door and, you know, go somewhere else, you know, as a result of this. But that's something I'm going to get back to, is podcasting and live streaming 100%. I would say, you know, it's going to be coming up soon, but I mean, it's like, if you don't start now, like, you're never going to do it. And so that's definitely coming back in the short future, real quick.
Yeah, I love to hear that. I really do. And I just get it out there. That's what I've been trying to do. Like, my show's a little bit tougher because I'm trying to get people on, so I have to deal with the schedules of other people. But I definitely believe,
right.
I think you just said it best. If you say you're going to do it, eventually you're never going to do it. Like,
yeah,
you got to just do it, and then that'll be that. So I definitely agree with what you're saying there. Last question. I love leaving it off on kind of like an open-ended question. It's kind of, it's deep to think about. But what motivates you, like, to, you know, everyone has those thoughts in their head, like, I'm gonna just stop. I'm thinking, for my perspective, you especially, because you're posting this, it could be so probably repetitive, like, to keep posting, even if it's different games and different things and different sports. Like, how do you stay motivated? Is there something that happened to you that motivated you in general to start? Well, you already told me, like, the whole page thing, as to why you started it, but, like, what motivates you ultimately?
Yeah. Whoa. Well, I hate to be cliche or whatever, but I mean, the fear of failure is something that drives me. It's not that I'm afraid to fail, because you're gonna fail. Things that you start aren't always gonna go the way that you plan. That's life. What motivates me, and I guess what's something I've been, you know, very, I guess I've been a big benefactor of, is growing up in a great community and then meeting great kids at school now. Almost all of my friends back home and friends now have great futures. And so it's cool to kind of build off of them and be like, you know, that kid's going to go be a doctor. He's going to have a great living. He's going to have a great life. I don't want to be the one friend in the group that doesn't. You know, I don't want to be the kid that, you know, he's not doing what he's loving, you know, and if he is doing what he's loving, he's not doing it very well. And so, like I said earlier, I've always been a competitive person. And I'm not here to pit myself against anybody else, because, I mean, if I was doing it for money, I'd be in law school, or I'd be in, you know, I'd be a doctor. You know, I love doing this. What drives me to, you know, can get up every day and find something to post on the site, or something to tweet about, or to talk, to basically engage with in my followers, is, you know, I've built this up for so long. I don't want it to just disappear and fall apart. I don't want it to be all for naught. It's pretty cool that, you know, it's gotten this big and this far, but, you know, if it's not going to help you in the long scheme of things, what's the point? So it's kind of, you put all your eggs into a basket, you hope those eggs hatch. Well, you got to take care of the eggs. And so it's definitely, you know, the motivation is just being able to say that you made it one day. and looking back and be like, I did that. That was because of me. That was because of my hard work, you know. And then, you know, as a result of that, you know, anytime you see your friends after that, be like, hey, you got some good stuff going on. Well, so do I. And so that's something that I hope I can be able to say, you know, in a few years or, you know, a few months, even if I get lucky. But yeah, that's definitely what drives me is, you know, don't be the weak link on the team, or, you know, you hear that your entire life. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be, you know, the person that says, oh, well, he almost did it. I want to be the person that say that kid did what he loves and he did a great job at it, and he's, you know, he's going to be successful. So that's the main, I guess, motivation right there.
That was a tremendous answer, by the way. So what I've been doing is I've been clipping a lot of like I'm starting to TikTok because I feel like that's the best way to kind of grow it.
Yeah.
And I've been grabbing like motivational clips, putting the motivational music behind it, and that's gonna be the one for years. I'm just letting you know right now. But that was awesome. I mean,
No, that's
I'm
perfect.
clipping that 100%. But CJ, my man, seriously, I actually thought I'm trying to be more personal on the show because like I'm still wiping the dust off the mic and everything. I'm still rusty, but like this was easily the most personable one I feel like I had so far, and I appreciate you for that. You were an awesome guest. Seriously, thank you for coming on. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing
sir.
knowledge. Thank you for, you know, breaking down your business to everyone. So I really appreciate it. And um, for those listening too, if you're already not, I mean, please follow CJ. I'll plug your regular Instagram. I'll let you do the plug, but it's sports underscore update. What is it? It's yes.
Yeah, sports underscore update.
Okay, and if you want to check out his personal, it's in the bio. But definitely check out Sports Update. You heard him. Podcast coming soon. Videos coming soon. Already posts every single day almost. So, thank you, CJ, again. Seriously.
Nah, big things ahead for you. I know, you know, the motivation is there for you. And I mean, I've seen the drive and the effort that you're putting into everything that you've done in the past as well. So I can't wait to see where this goes. And I'm lucky to be a part of it now.
I appreciate that, CJ. That answer that you said too, I like it. I related to that so much because I'm just trying to look back and say the same thing that we did it. But I'm glad to have you as a friend, someone who we're pretty much doing this together now. So thank
Yeah.
you again. It was awesome.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.